Okay, the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for everyone that's here. And hopefully you'll bring Maureen safely here too in not too long a time. But Heavenly Father, just be with us as we go through this lesson, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out how to put it in our lives and for us to utilize your wisdom that you're going to bestow on us by studying this. Heavenly Father, I ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, now I have a question before we get started. In the book, where it's Chief Butler and Chief Baker. In the Bible, it's Chief Cupbearer.
Well, the cupbearer is the butler.
Yes, but
why did they change
I don't know.
It depends on
translation?
New King James says butler, and the NIV says cupbearer, because I was talking about that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That term cupbearer.
Well, basically what it is, he's the food tester.
Yeah. Kings made more sense that a cupbearer would be the food tester than the butler. Yeah, he was the, he carried the.
But if you look at it, what a butler does, that's what he did for the Pharaoh.
It's not what we think of.
Right, right. They kind of, the author actually kind of explains that a little bit.
And I didn't even know Chapter Baker actually thinks the butler was the one.
Wait, which one is, the cupbearer is the butler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you see cupbearer, just, it's the butler. They're talking about because our study calls him the butler. But if you have an NIV edition, you're going to have it cupbearer.
You can only say the cupbearer did it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, that was good. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Bruce,
raise
how
your
did
feet up.
Bruce, how do you handle that lady, such a comedian?
Our next question. Doesn't hear him. Oh.
On hearing aids that don't work.
Oh.
You're probably glad about now. Does anyone, if you turn to page 51, we were having this discussion earlier, when it says with its own interpretation, how do you say that next word? Oh,
Where is it?
where? On page 51.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah, I already tried to find out.
I didn't know what it was.
I didn't look it up.
I did look it
If
up.
I came in, I'd ask our special interpreter here, and she said.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
basically, it's the practice of interpreting dreams.
Yeah, but
That's the process.
That's a neat word to learn.
I think the audience should show off. Use that word. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
How do you pronounce it?
I have no clue.
I had
You're asking me?
he could have said,
Oh, when I asked Debbie?
That's unusual.
I mean, Debbie's the expert on pronouncing names.
You can ask Google to say it. You type it, you say this word, you type it in and Google will say it.
I just told Marie, Martin Luther King, I had and he would have used this word instead of a dream.
It's,
Of course, nobody would have known what he meant.
I don't know.
It doesn't mean a dream, it means the practice of interpretation.
Right.
Well, anyway, that's been bugging me for a couple of days. I thought I came in here and asked our good buddy here, I can't help it, it's the way God programmed me.
Listen, you know what, I'm the same way, I'm laughing because I've got ADD really bad. And I'm like,
Do you keep your butter in the same spot all the time, in the same spot in the refrigerator? Do you get up at night because you know it's been moved?
no, I keep it on a counter.
And you live alone? Yeah. No, if my daughter comes over or something, and my son laughs at me, because you gotta have where it says butter, and the lid's got to face the same way, don't, and he will turn that butter lid around and move the butter to the, and I get up at night, and he said, I did that
Yeah, I think
You
that's
need to,
called
you need to
OCD.
talk to Vicky. Nancy, you need to talk to
ADD,
Vicky.
that's something else.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, I keep my butter in the same place, but it's in the refrigerator in the butter thing. I mean, you know.
Exactly right.
Huh?
And this isn't new.
I don't have a butter dish, like I don't, you know.
I know.
If I have people over to eat, then I have to put butter on a plate or something, but I don't. Okay, let's get started. We're going to be done probably before 12:30, but that's okay. But at the rate we're going, who knows?
I gathered it's almost 20 after.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, I didn't do the question. And I probably won't do the question for the next week either, so don't waste your time doing them. It's how do you feel? It's what do you think and all of that. And this week, almost all the questions that we had at the end were, what did you think? What would you do?
Yeah.
So I thought, nope. So anyway, we'll look at them, the ones in the back, but this one here we're not going to do. Okay, so let me get my glasses on so I can read. Okay. Reading in chapter 40, verse 1. Sometime later, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. Now, what did you hear there?
Potiphar is the captain of the guard,
Okay,
so he knew that Joseph would take care of those two men.
okay. And when it says he attended them, what do you think that meant?
He was serving. Yeah, he served them. He brought their meals to him and everything.
But before that, well, we haven't gotten into that yet.
Well, they had said Joseph was put in charge of the prison,
Yeah,
He's in charge of the prisoners.
of all those held in the prison. It's the last verse of
Yeah.
in 39.
Yeah. So while he was a slave, basically, but we have remember what was his job for Potiphar?
Taking over everything.
Yeah, well he actually was in charge of his whole household and his fields. That's important. That means everything. Everything Potiphar owned, he was in charge of. And he trusted him. So now he's in prison because Potiphar put him there, right? He was stupid enough to believe his wife. So now Joseph, but God's working all through this. And we have to see that. We have to understand that. I mean, there's a certain point, he's moving Joseph to a certain point. We're not there yet. And we're not going to get there for 2 more weeks. But anyway, so so Joseph is assigned these 2 people, the butler and the baker. So reading on, after they had been in custody for some time, each of the 2 men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who was being held in prison, had a dream the same night. And each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why are your faces so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." What does it mean, do not interpretations belong to God? Yeah, It's the only one who's going to be able to do it. But then Joseph says, "Tell me your dreams." What do you think they thought? He's just told them that basically God's the only one that can interpret them. And now Joseph says, "Well, tell me your dreams."
Well, I feel then that God is with him.
Okay.
He wouldn't have said that if God wasn't with him.
Well, hasn't Potiphar and even the warden, you know, I mean, they obviously see that right, he's different, but that the Lord is with him. They're not uneducated as far as God, okay? They just don't believe. They believe in many gods, small g.
But they all had rewards and blessings.
But yes, and I mean, because of the way Joseph acted, Potiphar gave him all that responsibility. He trusted him because he saw God working in him. And so, and because of Joseph's attitude, his work ethic, and all of that, Potiphar got blessed too, didn't he? Because everything went great.
So why did he put him back in jail then? If he trusted
Well,
him so
because he
much?
trusted the wrong person in that case. Who did he trust? Yeah, he believed his wife.
I'm not even sure that he believed his wife, but I think he had to.
Right, because he would have.
Well, that's true
Joseph would
too.
have been executed
Happy
if he
wife,
believed
happy
his
life.
wife.
Because they, Joseph, my ADD, Joseph realized that he was an instrument of God.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he had experience with dreams before.
Right, I mean, in multiple things.
And he was also aware of the dreams that his father had, you know, with the ladder, and he also knew that his father, how his father's name was changed to Israel. So he had a history there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving forward. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand." "This is what it means," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer." I've got to shut that. It's disturbing. Oh, I don't know. They're giving a tour or something. Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit. "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. For I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being in a dungeon." So, okay. So now he's heard the first dream. And the first dream's pretty positive, right? I mean, it's leading the person who had the dream to believe that, okay, everything's going to be okay. You know, in 3 days, the Pharaoh's going to take me out of here and I'll be good to go. Well, let's see what happens with the baker. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream. Now, my question is, do you think that if the first interpretation had not been favorable, that the baker would have told him his dream? No, you're right. Probably not. On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat away your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So, Joseph has been through a lot so far, right? I mean, some of it happened because of jealousy. His brothers were jealous because of how his father, really, showed his love for him more so than anyone. Oh, what's that?
A bee.
Ah.
I think it's a bumblebee, though.
Okay, bumblebees, wasps for my.
Carpenter bee.
Maybe I'll open the door again.
Let him find his way out.
Yeah. Well, I think they're gone now anyway. By the way, Mark apologized for the noise.
I'm just gonna warn you now, if it comes near me, I'm gonna scream. Okay. That's all right.
Well, hopefully he'll find his way out.
Oh, he's over there.
Oh, I see.
There's one over here. Oh, there's another one? I thought I saw one over here.
Well, there's one right there. And that is a wasp.
Yeah.
That's a wasp. If that gets me, I'm in trouble. But anyway, okay. Okay. So, first off, poor Joseph, he's young, and he's the youngest of the family. There's 12 of them. And his 11 brothers hate him. They're very jealous of him because of how much the father loves him more so than he doesn't pay attention to the other 11. So they decide, okay, we're going to kill him, right? Well, then one of the brothers, I forget which one, Judah, maybe? No. Reuben? Yes, you're right. It was Reuben. Reuben says, no, we don't want to do that. They ended up selling him, right, to the Edomites. And so they take him to Egypt, and they sell him to Potiphar for a slave. That's right. Women don't count. So now he's there, and he's a success there, right? I mean, Potiphar elevates him he elevates him up. He runs his household, his fields, and he's a success. And he makes Potiphar even more successful. And but Potiphar's wife decides she wants to have him, right? And she tries, and she tries. And he keeps saying no to her. But finally, she's grabbed his coat or robe, and he slips out of it and leaves. Well, she uses the fact that he left his robe behind to substantiate her life. And Potiphar decides, okay, he's going to put him in jail. But here he is in jail. Our story today is he's in jail, and along with the baker and the butler. And he